Okay, y'all ready? Perfect. Oh my gosh, that's so corny. Okay, I'm gonna get ready to start in a second. All right, 1, 2, 3. Hey, Eden here with Spiritual Boom. And oh my goodness, I keep saying this every time, boom, boom, boom. And usually I do a little beginning blur, but I'm not going to do one today because we are pre-recording this a couple days in advance and knowing that every day the world is completely changing. So I am going to do a little bit of an intro, but before I even do that, Pia and Cullen, please say hello.
Hello, Eden, and your listeners.
Hi, we're so happy to be here with you.
Awesome. Where are you guys in Europe?
We're in the southern part. We're in the southern part of Europe,
Okay.
southeast.
Okay, which is where exactly?
Um, let's just keep it that we're in the southern part of Europe.
Perfect. All right, awesome. So why I'm so excited to have these guys here today is in my podcast. So they're my fifth guest. So I think we're on episode 41. That I started doing this gently, opening people up to the Great Awakening and everything that was happening. And now it's time to do way more. So moving away from, hey, what do I see in front of my human eyes, going beyond and deeper into that. So I have quoted from their book. I'll go ahead and show this, and I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. I've quoted from their book in many of my episodes, yet I haven't extended full credit because I didn't think my listeners were quite ready for that today. So I also am going to ask for you guys to really be basic about some things also. So how I came in contact with Pia and Cullen is really interesting. I almost a year ago, Thanksgiving, ended up going to Turkey to see my friend. So I wanted some really good books, knowing that this Great Awakening was happening. I wanted some stuff that really was going to help me deep dive. And I ended up getting this one. So the Pleiadian Manual for Accelerated Evolution and Ascension, which was written by these two beautiful people. And it was really great. And when I got home, I'm like, I need to do a session with these guys. So I ended up doing a session. And then when my podcast was like, it's time to go deeper, I contacted them and said, would you please be here on the show? And here they are. It's so awesome. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about them and they can add to this. So Pia Orleane, and tell me if make sure I'm pronouncing that right, who PhD, and Cullen Baird Smith are to say, from the least, interstellar communicators, writers, visionaries, intuitive, Pia being a former psychologist as well. And they, from what I see and from these books, are really contributing to this Great Awakening. I think you guys were going to talk about the Great Split today. And then, so Pia, Pia merges, and they use this word merges instead of channeling with Great Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and the voice of the divine feminine called the voice, as well as joining Cullen and bringing forth Laarkmaa's wisdom, which is Pleiadian wisdom. So we'll talk about that as well. Yeah, what else can be said? Because again, this is just a tiny little bit of everything you guys do. Is there anything else you want to talk about or let our listeners know?
Well, I think your listeners would like to know that once upon a time we were in a very professional world. Me being, as you mentioned, being a clinical psychologist.
Yes.
I was an anthropologist and archaeologist, and we were both happily working in our fields, and all of a sudden, something happened.
That something happened over a birthday celebration for Cullen. He was celebrating a birthday with a dinner that I made, and all of a sudden, our shortwave radio spontaneously turned itself on,
Exactly at my birth time.
which was a little synchronistic and unusual.
No kidding.
So let me give your listeners a little more about this. We were living at about 10,000 feet in the mountains, and we had no cell reception, no telephone, no way of communicating with the outside world except this shortwave radio. And we used it to listen to the BBC or to other news broadcasting systems just so we could know a little bit about what was going on
Okay.
in the world. And so it was our really only avenue to get information.
So that particular evening, when the radio turned itself on, we sort of looked at each other and shook our heads and didn't understand why. But we're going to fast forward. For the
Okay.
next 12 nights, the radio turned itself on at exactly the same time. We moved it from room to room. We plugged it in different places. We even unplugged it completely. It still turned itself on. And at that point, we sat down in front of the radio and said, okay, who's here? How can we help you? What do you want?
Who are you?
Yeah.
And we began to get thought form messages. We would get sentences of immense importance. And we looked at each other, and one of us would say, I just got this message. And one of us would say what it was. And the other one of us would say, I got exactly the same message in the same words. So that went on for about a week.
Okay. So it came in your head and you just, okay. All right.
After about a week, we started, either one of us, speaking it out loud. Now, your listeners will find out when they meet Laarkmaa today, the Pleiadian group we work with, that they only use my voice to come through. But for the first year we were doing this, either one of us would speak, or sometimes we would both speak simultaneously.
Wow.
It got a bit confusing because people were doing like this, trying to see who was going to speak next.
So we came to the conclusion between our Pleiadian friends and ourselves that they actually liked Pia's voice better than mine. And they were very careful. They were very careful to be very
Well, that's just rude.
They said, it's not that we don't like your voice, but Pia's voice is more musical, more lyric, and it matches the way we communicate, because in their society, they don't speak in a verbal language like we do.
Okay.
They communicate heart to heart with musical and mathematical tones.
Mm-hmm.
And so Pia's voice is more resonant with them. Although at any time I can speak, because they come through both of us, not just Pia.
Okay.
In fact, we both have to be present and touching for them to come through.
And
That's the only way it works.
And that is because they want both of our personalities, which are 180% different. Pia and I are as opposite as we can be personality-wise. Intellectually, cosmically, heart-wise, we're identical, but our personalities are different. So they told us that they picked us because they knew that we would filter out each other's opinions, beliefs, egos about bringing the information that they want to bring to humanity. So that's why they picked both of us, male and female, and really, really different personalities.
So we spent the first month or so speaking out loud, and gradually in that month, we graduated to recording what was being said.
We couldn't keep up.
They were giving us
binary
number systems, advanced medicine, mathematics,
quantum physics,
all of these ideas and things that we couldn't keep up with it. So we started recording it.
How long ago was this?
About 2 decades.
20 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
So they asked us at one point, would we convert the recordings and our conversations into books for the public? And we said yes. And then after that, they asked, would we go public and bring their voice to the public? So in that transition, we walked away from our professional careers and gave our hearts fully to doing this work to help human consciousness evolve.
Fabulous. And I come from the corporate world of advertising too, and I took a totally different switch into this world because this is what we are called to do and to help humanity. That's a fascinating story. So can y'all explain who the Pleiadians are?
Sure.
When we began to speak with them, we asked them their name, and there was a long pause, and they said, our name is not pronounceable in your language. We can't really give it to you in a way that you can understand it. And we said, well, okay, but that's a little challenging, because if we're going to be working with you and bringing your wisdom, it would be really nice if we could tell people who you are. And they finally said, this is an approximation only of how to pronounce our name.
And the word they gave us was Laarkmaa. And it's very musical and drawn out. Of course, when we're speaking or writing, we shorten it just to the English Laarkmaa. But what's interesting to us is that they speak about it being very musical. And the first portion of that name reflects one of the greatest songbirds on earth, the lark.
Nice.
So next, we said, well, but who are you? And they said, well, we are a group of one. Do you want to explain it?
They said, we are one of six and six of one. And we said, what does that mean?
Beautiful, though.
And then they said, well, we are a unified group. We know all about unity. We make every decision in unity from our hearts, but we have individual aspects. And each individual aspect will come through at some time and be the speaker for you. But we are a unified group. So whatever one presents, all of us are in agreement. So that's what they do. The group Laarkmaa is actually from a much older star system than the Pleiades. They've been around in the universe for a very, very long time. But they use the Pleiadian star system because the Pleiadians there have the same sort of language, they have the same values. The Pleiadians want to help humanity evolve. So we are bringing Pleiadian wisdom, but it's actually in reality much older even than the Pleiadian star system.
But they needed a base closer to Earth, because they are from such a far, far off place that they felt that it would be easier for them, and because so many humans are interested in Pleiadian wisdom and Pleiadian knowledge, people have looked at the star system, the Pleiades, for tens of thousands of years. Every ancient culture has mythologies around the importance of the Pleiades. I mean, every single group of civilizations has some kind of connection, from early places in the Mideast to North America, Canada, to South America,
Africa,
Japan. All of these cultures, all of these ancient groups, all had an affinity and a connection with the Pleiades. So they figured that if the mythologies and the stories are so connected with the Pleiades, that would be a great place for us to have our work emanating from.
The indigenous tribes of the Dogon in Africa and the Cherokee in America have great legends about the Pleiadians coming to tell them about the true reality. And the Mayan people who created the Mayan calendar did that because the Pleiadians visited the Maya and gave them the entire energetic system of understanding the world through energy rather than time.
So let me ask you guys this. Okay, so I found out probably 2 months ago that I'm a Pleiadian starseed as well. So I'm still fitting into that or attempting to understand it. So I'm, again, one of the reasons I'm so glad to have you guys here today. So for my listeners that are Christian or people that are just like, this is just far out other beings, what would you say to that?
Well, I think the most important topic we could bring up is love. The Pleiadians are absolutely, completely about love. They are completely non-judgmental. They are completely open-hearted. Their whole existence is about bringing love to the universe.
And that's what Christ was teaching. When Christ walked the earth, he wanted us all to be able to open our hearts to love. So the Pleiadians are simply carry on Christ's teaching from a different perspective for us to be able to connect the dots and be able to evolve like Christ wanted us to.
So I think coming from that perspective, if love is the generating energy of the wisdom of this group, how could anybody not be comfortable with that? How could anybody not feel a resonance? Everybody understands love. Everybody understands the energy of love. So I think answering your question is very simple. Love is what they're all about.
Then beautiful. Let me ask you guys this. In terms of the Great Awakening, do you guys term it the Great Awakening or do you call it the Great Split? What is the most comfortable terminology for you guys?
Well, actually, both are true. There is
Okay.
a great awakening going on, and within that great awakening, there is a great split. One thing the Pleiadians have explained to us clearly is the most important concept on this planet is human choice. And even Laarkmaa, when they speak, whether it's to a group or individually, they always say, don't believe us. Trust in your own heart. We're here to share our perspective, but your heart, based on love, will resonate it and know the truth. So you don't have to believe something we're saying as an outside source. Just listen to your heart and you'll know if it feels true.
They also say that their perspective is simply larger than the human perspective. Their civilization, their society, their culture is so old, and it's been here, as Pia said, for so long, that they have a greater understanding of the true reality, the absolute makeup of the universe. And so what they always say is, we're simply giving you our perspective. You can agree with it, disagree with it. If it resonates, take it in and use it for your development, for your evolution. But if it doesn't resonate, don't worry about the fact that it doesn't make sense to you or it doesn't feel comfortable. Just move on to something else. Don't feel like we have the only answer.
So you ask about the agenda or the great split. And in our experience, everybody we talk to all over the world is feeling and experiencing something's happening. There's an awakening going on, there's a raising of consciousness, and there's also simultaneously a resistance from some people who want to go back to what they perceived as normal, although normal was always an illusion. So that's where the great split is happening, because this is a planet of choice, and people have the choice to cling to the illusion or to awaken and evolve. And Laarkmaa very lovingly says there's no judgment in either choice, no judgment whatsoever, because we will all get to the same place. It's just a matter of timing and speed and the path that we choose to travel.
Everybody is made of the same energy. We're all one. We're all part of what some people call source, some people call God, some people call the goddess. It doesn't matter the terminology. It's the same understanding. There is a creative force in the universe. We are all parts of that. We are all divine, and we are all moving in an evolutionary spiral. And what Pia just said is really important. There's no competition. There's no contest. We're all going to make it to the same place eventually. It's just that some people, through awakening, decide to take the faster train. And some people are taking the local slow train. But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because we will all arrive at the same place.
So were y'all aware of the Great Awakening 20 years ago when your radio started? Was that the awakening process for you guys, or did it come more slowly, or?
No, Eden, we were born awake. We've known this since we got to the planet.
Okay.
And we have shaking our heads and questioning why more people didn't understand what we knew for our entire lives. So,
we had very, very unusual childhoods. We were connected to, let's say, all beings. We were connected to fairies, angels, little people, the David kingdom,
which rules the plants.
We were relating to all of these groups, all of these kingdoms. And you know the old story about when children tell their parents they have little invisible friends, and their parents say, well, that's okay, Johnny and Jill, but you'll grow out of it, and it will be okay. When you get a little older, you'll forget about them. Well, guess what?
We never forgot.
P and I never stepped out of that out of that realm. And we've been involved in these other dimensional understandings since we were tiny children.
And we celebrate when somebody tells us, I woke up 3 years ago, or I just found this out. We celebrate. Good. Part of the veil has been ripped away by your choices that you have made, and that's great. That's wonderful.
I started experiencing to a different level when I was 9. Like I knew I couldn't sleep at night. There was something out in the hall. And of course, my parents were like, well, just get over it. So it took until my 20s that suddenly started doing meditation with the woman that I started working with, that I was like, suddenly, oh my gosh, there was a spirit or a man out in the hall, and everything came clear to me. And now, seeing, and again, that there is a veil up. So I am so appreciative that you guys just said, hey, this is real to us. This is going to be our life. That's really hard to do, especially now, but I'm assuming it's going to start being easier for everybody. Is there anything else to say? Should we have Laarkmaa introduce, or what do y'all feel?
Well, one thing that I would like to say is that for those who are listening to this and are considering what we said about it being a planet of choice and choosing the fast train or the slow train, one of the greatest ways to do that is to look at your belief system. What is it that you're clutching so tight that has to be true to you to make you feel safe and okay? And is there a way that you can look at it from another perspective and maybe find something different that you believe in, just as enriching and as heart-based as your current beliefs?
I think, to add to what Pia just said, this planet, this humanity that we're part of, is different than other societies on other planets. Every planet and its inhabitants do not have the luxury or the ability for human choice. We are different in that. There are other societies that do have choice, but on the whole, it's not the normal design of all the societies around the universe. So the impact of our choices is much larger than we imagine, because what we're doing, our evolution at this time, and I think it's really important to say, this is an evolution that's never happened on planet Earth. What's happening right now is being caused by the energies that are available to us as humanity right now. It's never been available before in the energetic frequency that it is right now. So choice is absolutely important, because people talk about how important karma is, and the Pleiadians have a completely different understanding of what karma means. Their understanding of karma is that it's actually over, that if we make choices from the heart in every moment
and get rid of our old belief systems and old behaviors,
there is no karma. There's nothing to be guilty about. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be relived in an opposite and equal reaction some other lifetime. If we're living in unity, and if we're living in a conscious, loving manner, we're not creating karma anymore. And that is because of the choices that we're able to make. And it changes the game completely when people understand that.
Now, for those who are listening who are interested in a more scientific basis, and this seems a little too far-fetched for them, we would point out that the sun is moving towards a solar maximum, and that means we're getting more solar flares and more energy from the sun, which actually brings more light into our physical cells, into our mental bodies, and into our emotions. At the same time, we have cosmic rays coming from the universe that also bring in a different frequency of energy. And the Schumann resonance is taking us from the normal resonance field, where we resonate usually, into the gamma frequency, where we are at something of a meditative state anytime we want to tune into that. And there is a great article that we wrote on consciousness that people can find on our website that explains all of these scientific background pieces for those who want to explore this from every perspective.
So there is empirical evidence from science that makes a lot of the things that Laarkmaa brings to the public absolutely much more believable for people who find it a big stretch to say, well, these beings from far off are telling us these things. I don't know if I believe it or not. But if there's a scientific approach to it, it helps some people go, well, maybe this is true. Maybe this is even reliable. So I'm really glad that Pia brought that up, because it shines a different light or a different perspective on what the Pleiadians bring, which can be a little life-altering to people who
Yes.
are new at listening to this kind of information.
And I feel that these, I'll just say ascended beings, that this is a time where we need more, and we need to open our eyes that we're not alone and that we can have assistance. I feel that this is like more people need to understand and embrace that we are not alone. And we're not just talking about God, that God created way more than we even conceptualize or can bring in. And it's time to bring it in, y'all. Let's go, because it's happening.
That's an incredibly important point and topic. There are so many beings surrounding this planet right now. I don't want to put numbers on it, but there are an incredible amount of beings who are beaming love, compassion, positivity, everything that we need to develop. They are beaming towards us, to us, in order for us to begin to understand exactly what you just brought up. We are certainly not alone. I mean, there was a great quote in a movie years ago called Contact, when the person who said this said, "Wouldn't it be a waste of space if we were the only ones here?"
Yeah.
I love that quote, because how could it be in such an immense universe that we were the only ones here, that we were the only ones created? It just doesn't make sense.
And with
Right.
God being the largest creator, in the Christian view of knowing this, why would God not create many different avenues of expression and many different beings who carry love? So that's our viewpoint. The Pleiadians they do not make predictions because this is the planet of choice, but they will tell us energetic trends that they see coming. And one of the things that's interesting to us is they told the world that sugar was toxic, that it is poison to the system, that it tears holes in our light bodies and it harms our cell communication. They told the world this 20 years ago, before National Geographic, the NIH, all of the health organizations suddenly disclosed that sugar was more addictive than cocaine or heroin, and that sugar was more harmful than any substance on the planet. So that's just one small example of their trying to share their perspective so that people can understand some of the bad habits we have that are stopping our evolutionary growth. Go ahead.
Well, there's a sidebar to sugar, actually. Not only does it do everything that Pia just described, but it also disconnects us to source or God. Sugar was not an indigenous, normal existing plant, sugarcane on this planet. It was brought here to addict people, to confuse people,
and to instill fear.
And so we cannot, if we eat sugar in any form, even when people say, well, I've almost gotten rid of sugar, I only eat it a little bit once in a while, it doesn't matter. If you eat a gram or a tiny minuscule piece of sugar particle, it will do the same thing as eating it every day, spoonful after spoonful.
Now,
what it does, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're not talking about natural fruit, which contains fruit sugar, or maple syrup, or honey, or stevia, or coconut sugar, which is from coconut blossoms. We're talking about sugar cane.
It prevents us from developing our intuition. It prevents us from listening to our higher self. It prevents us from communicating as P and I do with extra inner, outer beings from many, many different kingdoms. So sugar truly is something we need to remove completely from our diets.
And we want to give your listeners one more example of the Pleiadians sharing a perspective that we would be stepping into according to the choices we make. They told us a long time ago, years ago, that we would be coming to a time where a great split was possible. And that great split would be determined by the choices that we make. And there would be something implemented into our society from some direction where people chose to listen what the authorities were telling them, or whether they chose not to and to follow something different. And that is the whole thing that we have experienced about inoculations and about the agenda for what goes on with that they predicted without predicting. They just said, that's the trend, that's the energy you're going in. And now we're seeing the effect of that great split. Those who are choosing to believe what the authorities say, and those who are waking up going, the agenda is not the real truth. Let's listen to God.
So the true meaning of the Great Awakening or the Great Split is there are definitely two camps now on Earth. There are people who are waking up, people who are awakened, people who are beginning to wake up. There are many, many different levels of people's awareness at this point. And yet, more and more people are waking up. The split is the definition between those who are willing to look through a different perspective, let go of their belief systems, let go of their training. In the writings that P and I have been involved with for many, many years, through Laarkmaa, the Pleiadians, and other writings that we've done, I coined a term that I call, we've all had bad training. And indeed, religions, medical institutions, education, and governments have all given us information that really wasn't quite the truth.
Right.
And I'm not disparaging or knocking the goodness of religions here. I'm not giving a wholesale disclaimer that everything that has come from religion throughout history has not been helpful. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about doctrines and dogmas that have not been helpful to humanity. So there's a huge upswelling of understanding that people are beginning to see that they have to filter and understand things through their heart, not their training and not their minds.
Let me ask you all this, because I find this really interesting too. So in terms of these levels or layers, I was involved in a constitutional group where that contingency of folks really realized the Constitution. And then, I'm in collective consciousness, which is more about, energy and vibration. It has been really interesting to me in all of these groups that I've been a part of. Most people are in their 50s or above. They're older. And I know that some of that is, the ideology, especially in schools right now. This is history. This is, what would y'all say to that in terms of age? Will that be shifting soon, or what do you see?
Do you have a thought?
No, go ahead.
Well, I would say that consciousness is available to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
When children come into this incarnation at this point,
mm-hmm.
they are fully connected to where they came from and what they know. And unfortunately, that wisdom, that basic heart intelligence is beaten. And I usually don't use the word beaten. It's a pretty harsh word, but that is beaten out of them in the socialization process. By the time they're 6 years old, by the time they've entered school, generally, they have disconnected themselves from what they knew was real and true. As we mature and we get more involved in indoctrination and the things that I mentioned a minute ago about all the institutions that tell us who we are rather than allowing us to be who we are, for some people, that maturation actually does allow them to have more wisdom. And you bringing up the idea of people in their 50s and maybe even older, they've actually gotten wiser through their experience and through their age.
And their choices.
And their choices. And many of those people in that age bracket have let go of their training and realized that they have to be sovereign. They have to make their own choices. They have to see things from a totally different perspective than what they've been taught. However,
Go ahead.
However, many children are being born now who are not forgetting who they are. So the wisdom that I'm speaking of is available and is alive in all ages.
Do you want to add anything to that, Pia?
Just covered it.
Okay. That was awesome. Okay. Y'all, what do y'all want to do?
Let's introduce your audience to Laarkmaa.
Okay, that's beautiful.
They can talk about whatever they feel your audience is most interested in.
And I want to say one short introduction about introducing you to Laarkmaa. They don't really like the word channeling. They believe channeling is an old paradigm, old term that was used when an energy or an entity or a being would bring information from without the earth, without humanity, and speak to humanity in a one-way, non-dialogue sense. They just, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, information came through a human, but there was no discussion. There was no back and forth. It was a one-way street. Laarkmaa prefers to call what they do with humanity through us as sharing or engaging or
conversation,
synchronizing, having a workable back and forth conversation. So they really don't believe in just speaking. They want to have interaction. They say, we learn as much about you when we speak to you as you're learning from us.
So we will introduce them, or they will introduce themselves. And when they do, they may ask you, Eden, for your heart song. And what they mean by that is just your name and your own voice to get your signature. And then they can take the conversation back and forth because they will be able to feel the questions in your heart. And you can go ahead and ask the questions so your listeners can hear it. And they'll have a conversation sharing their perspective. So let's do that.
Let's do it. Sounds great.
Hello, dear ones. We are Laarkmaa. We are here to support your evolutionary journey in love. Please give us your heart song.
Eden.
Eden, it is delightful to be in your presence again, and we welcome this conversation. We feel you are most interested in the topic of the Great Split and what that is doing according to the agenda on this planet. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
So the Great Split is a term that we have devised to help people understand when they feel that nobody in their family or their community is understanding what they are understanding, or people are arguing with them, trying to talk them into coming back to old belief systems. The Great Split is something that is occurring as people begin to awaken from the illusion. As they begin to awaken, what they've been living by, their standards, their training, their beliefs, all of that no longer feels right. Instead, higher vibratory wisdom is coming through that they feel compelled to investigate and to explore. So this is what the Great Split is all about. Those who wish to explore higher vibratory wisdom and those who are still on their karmic path that will want to cling to the illusion and hold on to their beliefs. This will cause those who are holding on to the illusion to make choices that take them down a different path than those who are wishing to take the path of the higher vibratory wisdom. However, In this choice, in this cause, there is no judgment from our perspective, and we encourage all of your listeners not to judge other people's choices either, for everyone is on their own path of learning. Those who are taking what Cullen referred to earlier as the slow train will continue their karmic lessons, learning what they experience and having it presented to them again for another level of learning at some other time. Those who are on the fast train, who are moving towards higher vibratory experiences, are ending karma for themselves and anyone else that they connect with because they're making choices from the heart in unity from the highest good of all. So they are on the fast train, not to have to continue on the karmic wheel of learning. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Do you have questions about this?
Excuse me. No, please continue talking.
One of the things that we see occurring on this planet is people realizing that they have been under some sort of spell, some sort of secret, something that has not been right. It no longer feels real to them. You have a term about the agenda that is being exposed, and people who are awakening are realizing that there has been an agenda on this planet in place for a very, very long time. The agenda now is focused upon preventing you from reaching your natural destination of being multidimensional beings, where you can access any dimension through all of the 12 strands of your DNA as you progress on the higher and higher vibratory path. The agenda and those who push it and the leaders who are supporting it wish to prevent that. And so they are introducing another term instead of multiverse, which is your multidimensional heritage. They're introducing the term metaverse, which is a digital, artificial, illusionary idea, so that people who want to expand are aware that there is a frequency, a living essence, a connection to source through developing towards multiple dimensions and their own evolution. And those who are clinging to the illusion go more deeply into the illusion by attaching to the metaverse and anything connected with artificial avatars, artificial perspectives of who they are, anything that is not real. The fast train of the process you are on is not always comfortable,
Right.
but we can guarantee you when you move on that fast train towards the evolutionary path of moving more quickly, you will eventually reach a place where you find the peace and the calm that is always there in your heart. And you will be able to detach from things that you have believed more easily because they no longer feel right to you. Those who are on the slow train may feel that they are more comfortable by clinging to their old beliefs in the old system, but that is a temporary comfort, for it is not real. And it encourages those who are in charge of the agenda to put human beings more into slavery, more into control, more into things that harm them, rather than allowing them to be who they are, connected to source, and evolving as is intended. What do you think about that?
I love how you said in the one book that I'm talking about, loyalty to the truth. Completely agree with that. Let me just ask a question, and you tell me if this is a good place to go in terms of activating. So I've talked about the pineal gland and how to reactivate that again, that being our birthright. In terms of activating DNA or getting closer to that, what would you recommend?
Well, the first thing that we would recommend is that your listeners, read the article that Pia and Cullen wrote on consciousness that is on the website they have created about our work. The reason for this is it explains all the things that are causing your pineal gland to be shut down. It talks about the fluoride that is put in your water, the glyphosate that is put on your food, and many, many other substances that are causing the pineal gland to be closed because the agenda did not want you to have access to your true sight and connection to source. In terms of opening the pineal, changing your diet to a diet of living foods, and stepping away from all of the things that are listed that are harmful for you will support opening of the pineal gland so that you can reawaken to who you truly are and more easily separate yourself from the illusion. Does that answer it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What other questions do you have? What do your listeners want to know?
Well, okay. This is so who are we?
Ah, that's a wonderful question.
Thank you. I like it too.
You are living energy. You are partially made of the earth, and you partially come from stars so that you have divine light connected to source. You are, in terms of your Christian audience, you are God given life. And in terms of those who are not Christian, you are the energy of frequency that is on a mission to evolve. So you are energy, and everything about you is changeable, and you can change it through the choices that you make. You are not your static physical forms that you believe yourself to be. That is just a suit of clothes that you are wearing in this experience. You are actually much higher vibration than that. And the more you tune into that through changing your diet and making higher choices, the more you begin to feel your essence grow and expand. And you recognize that you're not limited only to your human form and human experience.
Awesome. And within that, in terms of creative and creating, that we are completely creative beings, what would you add to that?
We would add that your imagination is more powerful than your knowledge, for your knowledge is based on facts, and facts are always based on a limited amount of information and often are not even true. Part of your evolutionary path is to let go of the facts that you have been trained and to learn to open to your imagination. As you open to your imagination, you get intuitive inspiration to create. And when you are inspired to create at any level, whether it is creating a better relationship, a work of art, a recipe to feed your family, it does not matter the level of creation. When you're open to your inspiration, you are connected to source, and that creativity leads you to the next step you need to take for your own personal evolution. Now, beyond personal evolution, those who are choosing to evolve and consciously doing so radiate more light. And in that light, it shines into those who have not made that choice so that they can see more clearly and have the option to make higher choices if they choose. So the creativity portion is very, very important. We see creativity as carrying the energy of the Trinity of three. That is, in Christian terms, the Father, Son, and the Spirit. In our Pleiadian terms, that is adding in the male, the female, into the androgynous whole through the Spirit, through the union. So you are energetic beings who can call upon both aspects of who you are, your divine masculine aspect of energy and your divine feminine aspect of energy, and integrate them with spirit to create the next level of who you are becoming. What do you think of that?
I love that. And I am going to ask a personal question for a moment. So I discovered that I was a Pleiadian star seed, still figuring out what that is. I don't know if that's the right terminology. And as I'm talking to you, like a lot of that I feel is just shining the light. Would you agree with that? Or is there anything else I should know? I don't know if that's the right question either.
It absolutely is about shining the light, and you do that through unconditional love. You have discovered your star connection. Every human being has a connection to the stars, as we said a moment ago, but some have not discovered that yet. They prefer to focus upon their earthly aspect of who they are, not the fact that they have access to both the stars and the earth, which expands who you are. So you have discovered your connection in the stars, and that can only help you shine brighter. so that you can bring more light into the world and help the whole world evolve. Well done, Eden.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, because this just tickles me so much. Oh, keep going. I have a question in there somewhere, but it's going to come out in a second.
So each person, each individual can get into touch with who they are more fully by looking at who they are not. We like to tell people when we talk to them individually, if you think that you're ugly or too underweight or too overweight or too poor or too unlovable or too anything that is negative, that is not the truth, and that is not who you are. So the first thing you need to discover is who you are not. And we like to tell people sometimes that a very good practice is to walk by the mirror and smile at yourself and say, I love you, and mean it. And as you do that, you drop away judgments about yourself. As you drop away judgments about yourself, you begin to drop away judgments about others, which is a great path for your own personal evolution. We call this clearing shadows. And shadow clearing involves paying attention to what you think and what you feel. If you feel something that is uncomfortable, and we make a distinction between your natural feeling state and your emotions. Your emotions are those uncomfortable things like sadness, grief, jealousy, guilt, anger. All of these are uncomfortable. If you feel something in that range, it is encouraging for you to look at yourself and see what is out of balance. What belief system is keeping you stuck? If instead you feel kindness, gratitude, peace, joy, love, trust, and compassion, that is your natural cosmic feeling state that you brought to this planet when you came. So when you're experiencing that, you are connected to Source and following your heart. This is the work each human can do to move forward, if you choose.
That is lovely. And I want to add into that that the past 2 years for me have been connecting with myself, loving myself. Really, I always had this really nice connection to God, but yet feeling that stronger, and now this Pleiadian connection, really knowing I am not alone. And I think humanity, that's a big thing too. You are not alone. You are supported. You are loved. Even the days that you do not feel loved yourself, you are, and you are love. No matter what you're going through, no matter what's going on in your life, how would you contribute to that?
We would say you definitely are love, but most humans have forgotten that you are love.
Yeah.
You look for love outside of yourselves.
Yes.
Sometimes your love for God is asking for God to love you because you do not love yourself. When you awaken and remember that you are love, you recognize that you are part of God or part of Source, using whatever language you prefer, because you are a divine spark of light. And each divine spark of light is here to shine brighter by getting rid of all the things that you believe about yourself that are untrue. We call this process remembering who you are. And we wrote a book about that. It's our second one in our Wisdom from the Stars trilogy. Tia and Cullen have been very kind in working in partnership with us to write the trilogy of Wisdom from the Stars and give manuals for helping humans to evolve, and also the energetic system that we have brought to humanity's awareness. We are offering that so that you can evolve in ways that you choose. It is our great gift to you. We think with this bit of information, we will close for now. We are willing to come back and speak with your listeners at another time if they are interested. But for now, we will just tell you that we love you. Good always.
Thank you. And just a great appreciation for you helping us evolve. So thank you so much. Well, y'all, it's all been awesome. So let me ask, when you when they come to you, is it just an energy that comes through your body? Because that's what I experience when I connect to people that have passed on the other side. It just like there's a jolt that comes through me. Is that what you guys experience?
It's not a jolt, but absolutely energy comes through and we feel lighter, more joy-filled, happy. We feel their presence inside of us reflecting who we are ourselves. So it's a
Mhm.
wonderful energy to be involved with.
We feel more energized when we're sharing Laarkmaa with others. It's hard to describe. It's I guess I, people like to use the word blissful or joyous, and I think we could say that it's blissful and joyous.
Yes.
We could tell you and your listening audience, we've been doing this, as you know, for a very long time,
Right.
and we've been not feeling well on certain days when we're bringing Laarkmaa to the public, and we are always uplifted out of whatever that is. If we have a cold or the flu or whatever it might be, it evaporates when we're
Connected.
combining our energies with Laarkmaa.
Yeah.
It simply goes away. We're uplifted and energized to the point where something physical doesn't matter anymore. It's not part of the connection that we have with them. And it's amazing. I mean, we've done many public presentations all around the world all these
Yeah.
years. And it's pretty grueling when you have to fly somewhere in the country you live in, or if you fly to a different country and you are at a hotel situation or a convention center and working day after day. For the physicalness of us, it can be taxing, but the energy that we combine when we're working with Laarkmaa simply erases that, and we're in a different dimensional zone. It's just amazing. We used to keep, this is a funny little side story. We used to travel so much that we would keep an identical amount of suitcases with pretty much identical clothing in our house. We would fly home, stay overnight, get maybe 6 hours sleep, throw the dirty used clothes in the laundry room, pick up the new suitcases, get a ride to an airport, and then go off and do what we did just beforehand.
Gosh.
And we did that for years. And it was amazing that we were able to accomplish that. And I think if we didn't have the support and the energy from Laarkmaa, it most likely would have been impossible.
Wow. Are y'all traveling as much right now or doing a lot of podcast, Zoom kind of things? What are y'all doing at this moment, knowing we're in it right now?
We do a lot of personal sessions for people who want to connect with the Pleiadians for their own personal growth.
Mhm.
We do radio shows. In fact, we have one, I think, every single evening next week.
Oh my
or
gosh.
week, some mornings and evenings.
Okay.
We are not doing public presentations at the time, although we do offer an international live call where people can call in and listen to Laarkmaa and ask questions. We do that on the first Sunday of every month. And on the third Sunday of every month, we do a special message call where Laarkmaa gives out a message they want people to hear. So we're doing a lot of things that we can do without traveling at the moment.
We've also just completed a really big project. We decided with Laarkmaa's assistance to do an oracle card deck with their wisdom to help. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And I do. And what the energy the energy that comes from each of those cards, astounding. Okay, please proceed.
It's got Pleiadian stardust in it, Eden, so we're not surprised that you can feel the energy. It's very different from any other oracle card decks out there.
Absolutely. And we do a yearly calendar that has to do with the Pleiadian Earth energy astrology that they gave us that we're involved with. So we're actually reaching probably more people by having the calendar updated each year and designing and bringing the oracle cards to the public than we would be if we were flying around doing independent special public appearances. So
Wow.
actually our outreach has changed pretty dramatically. I think in the coming years, we probably will be back in more involvement with having seminars and public appearances.
We're getting a lot more recognition also, though, all of a sudden. We
I
have
imagine.
every single book that we have in the last year or two has won some sort of award. Awards for divination, awards for spiritual wisdom, awards for visionary thinking, and the calendar that we created, last year's calendar was voted the best spiritual calendar. So people are awakening and recognizing that we're providing tools that can help them on their own individual journey. And you can find all of that information on our website, which is www.laarkmaa.com.
Okay, and I will have all the links. And it was so funny. I got my calendar delivered yesterday. I think I ordered it like 2 months ago and it came in. I'm like, oh, I talked to them tomorrow. How awesome is that? All right, let's conclude. Is there a final statement or anything in terms of beautifully placing? Again, it doesn't matter which train you're on. We're all working on non-judgment, and everybody's going to get there at some point. Are there any final words like of encouragement, even though all of this has been so encouraging? Any final explanation that you guys would like to tell folks?
I would say remember that you are loved because you are love. Just remember that and hold on to that. And anytime you're feeling challenges, if you can hold on to that thought, think of the challenge as an opportunity to grow. And that's the way forward through this very chaotic transitional time.
Well, I also think and believe that there's so much doom and gloom that's constantly broadcast.
Yes.
There is so much bad information, misleading information, controlled information out there from many, many different sources. There is also an amazing amount of people who are broadcasting, as you are with your podcast, positive information, uplifting information, and an energy that is completely filled with solidarity and unity consciousness. And I think people need to understand that this planet is undergoing a huge leap in consciousness. And it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all bad news. There is so much heart energy being produced, broadcast, and shared across this planet that people can look into so many different avenues and so many different ways of receiving uplifting information that's filled with wisdom, love, communication, contact, unity. I mean, there are so many different words to describe what is available right now. And I think it's important for people to understand that a new earth is being built. There is a new earth that's being designed. And part of the great split that we've talked about and that Laarkmaa talked about is about the actual completion of a new earth. The earth is ascending just as we are ascending. And those of us who have made conscious, unity consciousness, connective choices are going with the new earth. There's no doubt. It's going to be a different experience, a different place. It's going to be filled with positivity. It's going to be filled with absolute equalness. There won't be any poverty. There won't be any starvation. There won't be any people who are controlling others for their own means. There will be a unified, completely cooperative, not competitive society. We are working towards this. We are building this. And there are many energies around the universe that are involved in this. It's a tremendous cooperative effort. And I think people need to know that that's where we're going.
And let me ask this question. So there are several people that believe or say that there is actually going to be a split. Like some of us are going to leave and then others will come later. Do y'all see it from that angle?
We think that's already happening.
Okay.
We have many experiences where people don't even see that we're there. Sometimes in stores, they will try to walk right through us. Sometimes when we're in our car, they will look both ways, stare at our big, obvious car, and then pull right into us. So we feel that that's already happening. It has to do with being in multiple dimensions. And what keeps us safe is that we move from third dimension into some other dimension when somebody in third dimension does not perceive us. So yes, that's already happening.
This split has been taking place for some years.
Yeah.
It's not
new. It's just
right.
enlarged.
Yeah,
Right.
It's actually been happening. P and I have been in many, many different situations. We've been on nature trails where we're standing on a trail, and let's say a group of people have gotten off a bus somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is, what country, but people who want to be out in nature. And we can be standing right there and they don't even notice us. They literally, and I hope this is believable to your audiences, they literally walk right through us. They do not know we are occupying that space together. And we've had many experiences like this. And at first it was
unsettling.
We were thinking this is out of a very strange sci-fi movie, but it's happened to us so many times that we realize that different people are actually experiencing what some people call different timelines, different dimensional experiences. And for us, it's absolutely real. It's happening right now.
So some people may not be able to hear this podcast or see it.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh. All right.
To find it.
Yes, exactly. And positivity and love and all of that. Y'all, thank you so much for being here today. And for me, this whole experience just expanded my heart. So I'm so appreciative of that. And Pia, I loved what you said a minute ago about just connecting with love. If you ever get down or don't feel that things are happening or whatever, just go to that spot, look in the mirror, say that you love yourself. I not hope today. I know that this broadcast, I just feel tingly about it. I feel that it has really offered up some wonderful information to people. So thank you so much for sharing your heart, your work, and doing what you do. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've enjoyed this very much. You're a fantastic interviewer, and we love the heart connection we feel.
And we also love the fact that you're bringing the truth and wisdom from many different sources to the public. That is something that has to be happening right now. And thank you for being part of this.
And I do thank you so much for saying that too. Like all these different perspectives. Again, it doesn't matter what perspective you have. Let's go with that, but let's continue to enlarge it. And I love having people, so many different experiences, so many different beliefs. I totally agree with that, Cullen. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. I think we're done. Anything else?
For now.
All right. I'm going to turn off recording right now. If y'all can stay for just a second so I can thank you in person. Bye, everybody. Here we go. This is the first time, and I'll probably look out the window a good bit because that's kind of what I'm used to, that I will be doing this practice on video as well as podcasting it as well. So guys, I'm getting ready to do some yoga. So I got my, workout clothes on. And part of that is what it is when you podcast just voice. You can do and be however you want to be. So it's not visual at all. But yeah, this is going to be a little visual here at this point. And I like to create more work for myself too. Plus, I think this practice is going to be really good. That was a wonderful discussion with P and Cullen, and I really want to tie into that. So this practice is going to be two-tiered. So to begin with, to explain a little bit, probably most of us have had times where we feel alone and by ourselves. It doesn't matter. Like for me, connecting with spirit pretty much every day and intellectually knowing and feeling it, that there is so much more than what I feel and what I see in front of my human eyes. Yet there are times when, you just feel lonely and you feel like no one understands you, and even if you know that is not true, you still feel it. So if I could ask you first to start out and write down, it doesn't have to be much, maybe just a page of the times where you have felt alone, what that felt like, what you were going through. And then conversely, write down the times that you have felt extremely connected, how that felt in your body, in your heart, in your mind, and just compare those two things. I feel that this, for many of you, is going to be enlightening and on some level. Nice. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And it doesn't have to be all in one day. It could be over the week, whatever feels good to you. Now, let's move into the second phase, which is the meditation portion. So when you're ready, pause or whatever. I want you to get comfortable. And again, as I always speak, you might be driving, you might be walking. So just get into a zone. And I will look off for a moment. After a couple breaths and getting comfortable, I would like for you to imagine that you're in a desolate and isolated place. So maybe you're alone on a ship in the middle of the ocean. I mean, this can be pretty dramatic. You're the only one in the desert. Okay, in this scenario, I would like it not to be the most pleasant place. Again, isolated, lonely, feeling like you are it. And also wondering what's going to happen to you. And this doesn't have to be on the brink, like being in this boat by yourself for weeks and you're skinny and you haven't eaten and there's no water. It doesn't have to be that desolate, but just oh gosh, here I am. What's going to happen to me? There's no one here to help me. There's no one in sight. I'm it. And within this time, feel all the feels that come with that. Because very abruptly, there's going to be the sensation that comes all over you, like a tingling or an energy. Kind of how Pia and Cullen described when Laarkmaa joins with them. And have it be whatever energy you would like. Maybe it's someone in your life who has passed away, or it is God, or it is Jesus, or it is Buddha. Whatever feels comfortable for you and gives you connection and brings you happiness, that suddenly you close your eyes and this feeling, this energy catapults you into this feeling of harmony, of bliss, of happiness. And it is radiating through your entire soul. And you might feel the energy of one being, one person, let's put it that way, or a multitude of people supporting you, being there for you, loving you. and you are taken to a place of comfort. It's almost like you don't even have to open your eyes to feel it all around you, that suddenly your environment has changed and you don't have to see it. You just feel it and you believe it. So maybe now you're in a very cozy room in your house. You're on a beautiful island with other people walking around in the distance, whatever feels good for you and strong and beautiful and wonderful. And it's not go there. You are there. And if you choose to open your eyes, not only do you see the environment, yet you see the energy. You see whoever or whatever you're feeling. And it may just be that you see light, that you see figures. There's just something that's tangible. And that shows you unequivocally that you are not in this by yourself. Big smile across my face. Stay with this as long as you wish, knowing that in the next couple of days or weeks, there could be some trying aspects that humanity is going to need to be confronted with. Again, don't know. I've heard of a lot of things that could potentially happen, and none of those have happened right now. I think a lot of things are going on behind the scenes. Yet, regardless of where you are, who you are, knowing that we are all supported in this beyond what we could even imagine. So supported. You have my support as well. So cool of you to be here. My intention is not only to share my voice, but to have fun and be vulnerable, all the things. Therefore, like and subscribe or put your comments here if this is a commentable podcast channel, acknowledging what you enjoyed or maybe what you would like more of. My plan is to come out with a new episode by Wednesday of each week. And to let you know, I've gotten back on the Facebook animal with the singular purpose of being the light that cannot be stopped. I'm also on Instagram, so connect to me at Eden Cause. Also, right now, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, True Social. Oh, Lordy, more to come.